Professor Tariq Sahab, to your entire faculty, to the respectable speakers, Senator Sahil Saiba, to your former president of Azad Kashmir, and Noreen Saiba, and to all the respectable, dynamic young students over here. And the speech that Hamid Lone Sahab has done today, I think he has he has touched every aspect of the Kashmir conflict and the problems that we in general as a nation are going through. Because as your own teacher, your professor was telling all of you in a very, skillful, articulate manner, the exact legal position of Kashmir right now, especially after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. And since today is one of, obviously, the darkest chapters, blackest days in our entire freedom struggle, because in common words, in common terms, in simple terms, I think before the pre and post situation of abrogation of Article 370, in simple terms, is that before we had the Indian occupational forces over there that were occupying our land, and they happened to be the highest occupation in the world. And all the bloodbath that was going on, the massacres, rape as a weapon of war, phosphorus shells, pellets, everything was being used, with so many people being locked up in jails, thousands of unmarked graves, lakhs and lakhs of people being martyred by the Indian bullet. But what is the difference between that situation and now after abrogation? It's simply that first it was the occupation forces, now it's the occupational public of India. And this is the biggest land grabbing or theft or robbery of the century, I would say, that's going on right now, right before our eyes. With a stroke of a presidential order, with a stroke of a pen, the entire Kashmiri nation became stateless. Imagine for a moment, for a second, being in such a situation where you're sitting right now and you're suddenly told that your passports have been snatched, you have no identity, and you do not have any rights whatsoever: voting rights, property rights, economic rights, political rights, right to assembly, right to protest, right to speak up. And if you speak up, if you dare speak up, you will be locked up, and you are not in touch with your family, and there's no security. What will you do? That's what's happening with Kashmiri people. And in the span of 3 years only, just 3 years, we've noticed that, how fast India has settled, the Indian state has settled their public over there. I mean, it's almost 60 lakhs, the domicile certificates being issued to the Hindus of India, and which is almost half of the indigenous population of Kashmir. And the pace at which they're going, and nobody is stopping them. Obviously, there are no legal obligations against them right now, or any, being put under international radars. And so they have literally a free hand to do whatever they want to, and they're doing open bidding of thousands of acres of land, which is being earmarked indefinitely and being allotted, being gifted to the top business elite of India, and also to the general public at large. And a lot of Dalit community has also been given the domicile certificates over there, apart from those who are following the Hindutva narrative. And now when we look at the population statistics, equally we look at the economic issues, because the previous speakers have given you a rough idea, and I'm sure you're well aware, you're well read, and it's a time of internet. You get all the basic fundamental information of Kashmir issue, of the violence, the breach of human rights, and the blatant violation of Universal Declaration of Human Rights that's going on over there. But at the same time, the rights of people in conflicts, the economic rights, they fall under the World Economic Forum as well. The rights of people in conflict zones, of how to earn a livelihood and how to survive in a battleground or in a war-torn area. And here, it's shocking that in just a span of 1 year, from August 2019 to August 2020, we have seen a colossal loss, just in 1 year, of almost 60 billion Indian currency, rupees. And we have seen around 8 billion loss in the apple growing industry of Kashmir, because it's a horticulture, agro-based industry over there. Then you have the tourism industry. It's very important because we're not on the road right now chanting only emotionalism, because I know we're all emotional when it comes to Kashmir, but then there's a heavy responsibility on our shoulders that when we discuss a conflict or a freedom struggle, we touch all those crucial dynamics which have been neglected in the past, or maybe because we've not been in that space. The public of Pakistan, they can see pictures, they can relate to them emotionally, the human pain, the sufferings, but they cannot fully understand how we people in curfews, in prolonged curfews, survive with a shortage of food supplies, of medicines, and we do not have any permanent jobs. It's mostly the men folk are martyred, or they have been disappeared by the Indian forces, or they have become handicapped due to third-degree torture or being attacked. The upper body is the main target of the Indian forces during protests, or simply they do not get any jobs if they apply for them on purpose. So all the economic, socio-economic burden, it falls upon the women folk. And it's not necessary for the women to be well-skilled or to be fully trained for any job or be fully educated. And they are literally, left on the roads when their loved ones or the earning hand has disappeared or been killed, or their dead body has still not been received or is jailed. And they are searching in concentration camps, in army camps, in police stations, or in courts to look around, to search around for their loved ones. This is a common practice of almost every second house in Kashmir. Because we have missing persons over there. And then rape as a weapon of war. I mean, there's so many women, so many girls and boys also, and young children who have been sexually raped, brutally raped by the Indian forces and the police security. And not just in incarceration, otherwise as well, because you have those army camps at every nook and corner. The only two vegetations which grow there are the Indian army boots and the dead bodies or the graveyards of Kashmiris. So in such a situation, you can expect not just the economic burden that the Kashmiri women have on their shoulders, but also to look after the family, the post-traumatic stress disorder we go through, and then we have to earn. We have to be brave, we have to act brave. We have many health, fertility issues, because a woman's body is connected with, it's deeply emotional, and the whole biological system of the female body gets affected with traumas, and you have a lot of cases of PCOS over there and hormonal issues, which is very common there. And then you have unhygienic food supplies over there, which are fake medicines being supplied on purpose. There were strong cases against the milk supplies being sent to Kashmir with a lot of surf added in it, and a few people also died, and some children also choked to death. But then they put a hush-hush thing on it because it was an Indian businessman whose company was selling those fake and substandard products to Kashmir. So that is part of it. And then the journey towards freedom. Because Kashmir is basically, the freedom of Kashmir is a romanticism. It's love, it's passion. And when you have a goal in your mind and you're fixated to that goal, that you have to achieve it no matter, you get restless. But when you are in love, you are madly in love, you are blindly in love, then you don't look at the dangers around. You go for it. You're armed, you're unharmed, you're sick, you're young, you're weak, whatever the case is. This is a devotion that comes, which cannot be even explained in words. And when that love and that affection is for the love of your soil, then you can't even imagine how many sacrifices you can bear to get that eternal fruit. liberation. So that is the key point that keeps the Kashmiri people going on with their resistance, because a lot of times people tell me that, you know, you being a, they tell me, even some of my friends, that, you know, you're a Pakistani and you got married to a freedom fighter, and knowing that, you know, anything could happen to him, and then he's been through third-degree torture, and one of his best friends also told my mother that, you know, your daughter's engaged to him, but unfortunately he's been through third-degree torture, and Hamid Lon Saab can relate to it. A lot of Kashmiris, what third-degree torture means in Kashmir, that you cannot have children. And you know what my mother said? I mean, hats off to her, even I'm not that strong. She said they'll have 100 children. That was her belief system. That she didn't believe in that. She said, no, this is God sent, and my daughter believes in his goal, and we believe in it, and this is a very small contribution that we can, you know, chip in to the sacrifices of the Kashmiri people, and we were blessed. So this is what I'm saying. It is the blind faith or the love or the passion, and people tell me that, you know, don't you get tired of it? Your husband's mostly not there. He's mostly in jail. You've spent only 60 days in a marriage of 13 and a half years. But I'm telling you, the passion, the love, when I witnessed, when I landed in Kashmir, it is definitely, it's like the most honest truth I can say is that I have literally seen that heaven. That is heaven on earth. The people of that land, they are so beautiful, they are so loving, so caring, so brave. They have all the qualities of a heavenly creature, and with a lot of honor and pride, and very little negativity. I have not seen them grumbling. I mean, they are so confident about their goals. So I think when you do your research on Kashmir, do it with passion. Don't do it with just emotions, ki hai bichare, because this is one word which Kashmiris hate. So I want to tell all of you that share it with your friends, with your family, that people who stand up for their rights, who stand up against all odds, against all the tyrannies of the oppressor, they are not bichara, they are not cowards. In fact, cowards are only those people who have no mission in their life, who just come like a robot in this world, who are born and they have goals which are very self-oriented, which have individualistic approach to it. So have goals which are larger than life, which are contributing towards humanity, towards the good of the people. Because those good deeds that you do, they will live on. Not what you are individually or what satisfaction you have of your own inner potentials only. Try to spread your potential for those that are voiceless. And do it with conviction. And when you will do it with conviction, I'm dead sure that you will get divine intervention and you will get guidance from God Almighty to, you know, research on this topic. Okay, one girl decides she wants to focus on one of the rape victims in Kashmir. She wants to know how she managed. She got raped, her brother was assassinated by the Indian forces, yet she continued, she became a gold medalist, and she's doing a job in a hospital there. There are many stories, I'm just giving examples. You have young kids, you know, with pellet victims. Pick up a story, research on pellet victims. Or pick up another story of phosphorus shells and the impact it has on the human body and the mind, and how it melts your body and even your skull. It can melt your bones. The impact of chemical weapons which are being used here, which was mentioned by Hamid Lon Sahab when he said that, you know, we talk about North Korea, but we don't talk about, we talk about Ukraine also when it comes to human rights. I've heard that the UN is forming a commission of inquiry. So all Kashmiri people deserve is to be called human. That's all. That's their only legitimate legal demand from the world. They want to be considered human. And to be considered human, they must be respected and be given that birthright to freedom. And for that, I think it's very important that now the focus should, I don't know, it's becoming static. Is it because of this? I think now our focus should be on individual case studies, but at the same time, it should also be on how to give relief to the Kashmiri people, how to reduce the bloodshed, the bloodbath, how to give them that relief. For that, I think 50 years, India and Pakistan, I would say, were wasted in bilateralism, because I think we could have given a chance to bilateral Indo-Pak dialogue for 10 years, maybe 20 years, but each time it failed. There was no result. In fact, the occupation of India kept growing in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and draconian laws were being imposed. So what is the way forward? 50 years, half a century given to dialogues and bilateralism. Now it's high time we go back where the real case is. It's in the UN. UN Security Council resolutions, we have over a dozen. We need to have a full command over our resolutions as well. And at the same time, peace-building ways should be taught, peace-building workshops. And how can they be taught? If we have no command over international law, of international mechanisms, especially the UN mechanism, very few people, sadly, have research on the UN mechanism. It's complicated, but once you get into it, you get guided by a lot of people, especially on their website as well, the working groups that they have on torture, on disappearances and other things. So we need to explore international avenues, especially Ukraine is a new example for the world. The way the world is talking about it, is trying to expose all the human rights violations, and UN is establishing a commission of inquiry over there. So how come for Kashmiris no commission of inquiry has yet been established, nor have we been able to establish an international criminal tribunal by the UN the way it was established by Professor Stanton for the problems in Yugoslavia and Rwanda. We had ad hoc international criminal tribunals established, and the same Professor Stanton who established these ad hoc criminal tribunals is the founder of the genocide status, and he has said that the Genocide Watch, and he said that Kashmir is on the 5th stage of genocide. What is genocide? Genocide का मतलब है कि पूरी कौम की नस्ल को ख़त्म कर देना, मतलब नस्ल कुशी, मतलब आपकी पूरी नस्ल ख़त्म कर देना is the highest crime in the world, which is a genocidal act. We have war crimes, we have arbitrary detentions, and whatnot is happening with Kashmiris. We have extraordinary titles of half widows, half mothers, and born orphans, half orphans, and I live like a half widow. Since I got married, and this pain of being stuck between a shuttlecock, like is he alive, is he okay, can I ever meet him, can we ever speak, and then you practically become single parents, and also becoming a spokesperson for your people. So I think it's very important now. Pakistan should also, and the government of Pakistan should also hold a national security dialogue on Kashmir once and for all. We are seeing a lot of internal politics taking away the entire media. I think it's high time we should focus more and more on Kashmir, and at least for the next 10 years, we should have a policy on focusing on the United Nations to give Kashmiris the right to freedom. Because that is why they have sacrificed their lives. They have not sacrificed their lives for any kind of compromise, and nor will they ever compromise. So we have very little time left, and Pakistan, being a legal party to the dispute, has a major say in this, in strategizing, and Foreign Office should, I've been saying it for the past 5 years, they should establish a legal cell within the Foreign Office, because this was a lawfare committed by India. And we need to respond to that lawfare. And in my own particular case, because I'm also Pakistani national, and I was blessed to be the first Pakistani public figure in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir when I got married to a Hurriyat leader, and the welcome that I got each time, it's so memorable. I've been there 6 times. They even touch your feet that you've come from the Pakistani soil, and the expectations that they have from the Pakistani public and the state. So I think we need to have a full-fledged policy on Kashmir with national consensus, and all the local issues, I think they look very small to me when it comes to Kashmir. You all are in a free country. You're suffering economically, there are backlashes, there polarization, but you have no idea what the Kashmiri people are going through, and yet they are unified. So I think it's a good message for all of us to be unified, not for just being Pakistanis, but be unified for being a voice for Kashmiris. And this is a chance you all have from God Almighty. This is not a lecture on politics, on freedom struggles. This is a chance that each one of you have who has come here, that you should focus and listen to our words from your heart and soul, and not just from your mind, and contribute. And a lot of people say, जी कश्मीर का मसला तो कभी हल नहीं होगा, कोई मसला जो हल नहीं होना उसका ये एक फ्रेज़ बना दिया. तो नहीं, ऐसी बातें नहीं है. आप अगर उसके अंदर अपना रोल प्ले करेंगे तो तभी आप कुछ कह सकते हैं कि आपने अपना हिस्सा डाला कि नहीं. और रिज़ल्ट अल्लाह के हाथ में होता है, और ये तो गैब की ताकत से ऐसे मसले हल होते हैं. मगर जो इसमें आ जाता है वो चोज़न वंस होते हैं, जो अपना कोई रोल ह्यूमैनिटी के लिए, विच इज़ लार्जर देन लाइफ. तो फिर जब वो ऐसे मुश्किल तरीन कामों में अपना हाथ डालते हैं, तो एक बड़ी खूबसूरत बात मुझे किसी ने कही थी कि द स्मॉलर द गोल, द स्मॉलर द रिवॉर्ड. द बेसिक जो आपकी गोल्स हैं लाइफ में, उसी पे आप बैठे रहेंगे तो आपको उतना ही मिलेगा. द बिगर द गोल, द बिगर द सैक्रिफाइस, एंड द बिगर द रिवॉर्ड. द बिगेस्ट द गोल, द बिगेस्ट द रिवॉर्ड. सो इस एंगल को आप अपनी माइंड में रखें और इन लोगों का साथ दें, हमारी कौम का साथ दें, कश्मीरियों का, इससे पहले कि वो पूरे की पूरी कौम जो है एक्सटिंक्ट हो जाए. और फिर अल्लाह सबसे हमसे पूछेगा कि किसने क्या अपना रोल प्ले किया, अपना क्या हिस्सा डाला. तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. थैंक यू.